Ernest Holmes, in the Silence of Mind textbook, page 110, wrote, "If we take our images of thought only from our previous experiences, then we continue in the bondage which those previous experiences create. If we talk about discord, we shall become more discordant. If we spend all our time talking about our unhappiness, we become more unhappy." Dennis Merritt Jones, in The Art of Being, page 136, wrote, "The fact is that manifesting any kind of peace, inner or outer, will require some form of deep letting go of our attachments to something. Something as ethereal as an idea, expectation, or resentment, or something as tangible and material as real estate, money, or even a person or relationship. Letting go of what no longer serves you is a huge part of manifesting peace. If you don't have an authentic sense of peace in your daily life, I encourage you to take a peek within and see what you might be hanging on to that no longer serves you." Deepak Chopra wrote, "In the process of letting go, you lose many things of the past, but you will find yourself," and that is the capital S, self. "It will be a permanent self, rooted in awareness and creativity. Once you have captured this, you have captured the world." Please look at the screen. There we are. Or on the front of your program and say the affirmation with me with your power behind it. I am on an upward spiral of success and happiness because I am doing what is mine to do, trusting Spirit to do its part, and grounding myself in the truth that I am the beloved of the beloved. And so it is.
Thank you, Nancy. I love how all those readings fit together to give us a very powerful message. You know, this month, I found a beautiful quote by Meister Eckhart that inspired me, and it's just kind of carried through the entire month. And it's simply this, that awe is the beginning of wisdom. And so that reminds me of how when I focus on the bigger picture, on the creator of this vast and amazing universe, with its diversity, with its beauty, and how perfect we're going to be doing this whole photography thing because it just fits right in with this whole message. When we focus on just the magnificence of creation itself, beginning with ourselves, our hearts just explode with these feelings of amazement and awe and wonder. And when we fall in love with the universe in this way, we begin to realize that we are of that universe. We are made in the likeness and image of the divine itself. Then we begin to fall in love with ourselves, and then it's just so much easier from then on to be in this world and to meet the challenges that we do. We come with a freshness, a spark in us, a vitality and awareness that we are not only the sparks of light in this universal, eternal light of the divine. We are not only, and I love this, this is from Rumi. He says, we are not the drop in the ocean, we are the entire ocean in the drop. The entire ocean in the drop. Just let that blow your mind. And then add to that since we are made in the likeness and image of the divine, that the creator of all that is, that creative energy, that creative potential, that originality resides in us. We get to use that creativity. And you know what? We're using it, whether we're aware of it or not. So The beauty of this teaching is that for me, it continues to remind me I'm in the process of creation. So why not create what I want? Why not create the experiences that I want? Why not, even no matter what's going on around me, choose how I'm going to see it and interpret it and feel about it? So it's so empowering to live in this way. So let's just breathe that in for a moment. Let me find my place here. So here's what happens. And we had a song last week that I think spoke to it so beautifully, is when we realize who we are and whose we are from this expanded perspective, we are empowered to do amazing things. So here's some questions I want you to contemplate. Are you tasting and embracing life with awe and wonder? Are you sizzling with the power of God as creativity, vitality, joy, and enthusiasm? Are you experiencing the flow of God's abundance? Are you manifesting your heart's desire? Are you living on purpose, sharing your gifts that you came here to share? If the answer is yes, then it means that you have mastered living in the now. And if the answer is no, to some or all of them, or even just a partial, it just means that you're still being haunted by the past. And we're going to do something about that today. And even the fear of the future, this is what I've come to realize, really has to do with what I carry with me from the past. Because I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be the same thing that's going to happen. So when we clean up our past, this is my awareness. When we clean up the past, we also um, make way for a future that's bright and beautiful, and we get out of that whole syndrome of worry and stressing. So, one of the things that we are doing in our Beyond Limits class is we all set an intention to do complete house cleaning in our subconscious, right, Dwayne? And so, in the process of doing that inner house cleaning, things come up. And I actually wrote an article about it in the greeting in the newsletter this last week. Things come up. And so it's important to know what to do with those things when they come up. And here's the deal and I had some stuff come up in the middle of the night last night. And so I know what to do now. Even though it feels uncomfortable, I go, it's on its way out. It's coming up because it's on its way out. And so, again, the attitude and the power of our word that we bring to a particular situation allows it to move through us more quickly. And actually, a lot of people say just let it flow down into Mother Earth because Mother Earth knows what to do to recycle all of that energy. So, it's on its way out. It's on its way out. And I'm here, I'm making way for the new. I'm making way for the new. So, we're gathered here today then to make peace with our past, to heal the hurts and the wounds from our relationships or from our own errors that prevent us from living in the now. And so, let's not fool ourselves when we go back and retell that story again to somebody and find ourselves feeling upset that what we're doing is recreating the past. So let's not fool ourselves about that anymore. Is that a deal? Okay, and so again, what happens then is if we do that, we become tethered to the past. And it reminds me of a story of, how the elephants are trained in India to be beasts of burden. Many of you may have heard this before, but it's a great analogy. When when the elephants are babies, they capture a baby, or they used to. I don't think necessarily they do this anymore, but they would capture a baby elephant, tie a chain around its leg, and tie it to a huge tree. And so the baby elephant would struggle and struggle to get away, and after some time would just give up because it wasn't working. And so what they would do is continue to step down the size of the tree over time. And then eventually the elephant gets trained so you can just have a small stake in the ground. And so as soon as they feel just any tension whatsoever, they give up. They don't try to pull it all the way out. So what's happened here? What's happened is in the mind of the elephant, a belief has been formed that I can't escape, that I'm captured. And so this is a beautiful analogy for what happens with us. When we've had an interpretation of what happened in the past and we feel in bondage to that same pattern, our soul is tethered. Our soul is tethered to the past, to the ideas of the past, to the interpretations of the past, to the meanings that we've given things, to the beliefs that we have. So I'm going to talk about 2 ways to untether the soul. And it requires us to be willing to change our minds. Are you up to that? Yes. Okay. So here's one of the most important things to really get. You can't change the past. What has happened has happened. No kicking, screaming, ranting, and raving, throwing temper tantrums, or lamenting is going to change the past. However, we can change our perception of the past, and that's where the power is. We can reinterpret what happened. Deborah Ford, in her book, The Dark Side of the Light Chasers, anybody read that book? Okay, that's a great book. In Deborah Ford's book, she has a chapter in there that's called Reinventing Ourselves. And she begins by sharing a story that when she was growing up, her father would call her Pig Nose and Bucky. And it had a huge impact. She interpreted that, because remember, even as children, we're creative beings. We arrive as creative beings. We arrive with the ability to interpret what's going on around us. So her interpretation as a child was that her father thought she was ugly and hated her, that he didn't love her. So that was her interpretation. She carried this into adulthood until she started doing her deep inner work. And so the word that really triggered her, she found that the word that really triggered her was the word ugly. And it went back to this experience. So she knew that changing her mind, changing her interpretation was her road to freedom. So this is what she did. She wrote down a whole list of other possible ways of interpreting what her father did. Let me read you some of them. Okay. My father thought I was ugly, and teasing me helped him to deal with it. I am so beautiful that my father became nervous and called me names, used them with affection. My father loved me so much that he wanted to prepare me for the real world, and he thought that he could protect me by downplaying my beauty. So guess which one she chose to believe? The last one. I'm going to read it again. My father loved me so much that he wanted to prepare me for the real world. He thought that he could protect me by downplaying my beauty. And as you can see, we all have inner beauty, right? Beauty is not the issue at all. So she reframed it. And here's the key. She chose this particular one, because it made her kind of laugh inside or giggle inside, and it nurtured her soul. And then she began to think of her father with very affectionate terms. And so she decided, regardless of his motives, she didn't need to know what his motives were, that she was at peace with the experience. So this is how it's done. So I took a situation with my own father that has was really a button pushing type thing, and I decided to apply the same principle so you can get a sense of it. So here's something that happened. So every time that I would go down to visit as an adult down in Florida to visit my father, he would bring up that I didn't do the dishes when I was in high school. And the truth is, I'd say probably 99% of the time I did. But he was focused on the times that I didn't. And from my recollection, the reason why I didn't is because I had to rush off and get to some activity, and I'd tell him, I'll wash them when I get back, and of course, he'd have them washed by the time I got back. So, so this is what he was remembering. It was selective memory for whatever reason, and he would bring it up over and over again, and I could see there was irritation in his voice. And and it pushed my button. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I've really tried to be a good kid the whole time I was growing up, and he focuses on what I did wrong, and I get myself all riled up and everything. So this is what I did. I started writing down some alternative interpretations because what I was clued into was I'll never be good enough for him. I think that was the underlying belief or interpretation that I picked up. So here are other possible interpretations. And again, the idea is to choose one that is empowering, one that strengthens and gives peace, brings peace to the soul. So one possible interpretation is he wanted to torment me for not obeying him and doing what I wanted to do, what he wanted me to do, and when he wanted me to do it. Well, that didn't give me much peace. Okay, Dad was being unreasonable since I did the dishes most of the time. Well, that gave me a little more peace, but not quite there. So here's the one I finally came up with. Dad thought that I did not love and respect him when I didn't do the dishes. It was a call for love. When I came up with that one, yeah, that's what happened. When I came up with that one, I could feel my heart expand. I could feel compassion, and I could feel the affection for my father return. So we can do this for ourselves. We can reinterpret the past and have a powerful, powerful experience. So it's very simple. All you do is think of something that disturbs you from the past, write down alternative interpretations. If you feel stuck, we have practitioners and ministers here that can support you. And then find an interpretation that makes you feel strong, compassionate, and peaceful. So let's breathe. And so here's the thing. If we keep the interpretations that make us feel weak and helpless and discordant, then we remain tethered like the little elephant to the past, to limiting thinking. So that's the first way of making peace with the past is make new interpretations that feel good, that empower you. The second one is to look for the good. We talk about this all the time, don't we? Look for the good. And that is one of the most powerful ways to do that, to make peace with the past. So here's something that sometimes can be a struggle for many of us, is to realize that no matter what happened in the past, we can extract some kind of good out of it. We have the power to do that because of who we are. So the past is for learning, finding the good, helping to transform our consciousnose, or for enjoyment, just simply enjoying memories. So here's what I've noticed happens, that the more that I transform those learning opportunities that bugged me, the more I have good memories of the past. We truly can reinvent our whole experience of the past because of who we are. That is pretty amazing. So, if I have guilt over something, and guilt means I did something bad, I can make amends and then I can resolve to do things differently. I can also reinterpret it. As just a learning experience. If I feel shame, and shame means there's something wrong with me, I'm bad or whatever. This is a great motivator. We know that every one of us are whole, perfect, complete, and good at the core. Every one of us. Whole, complete, and good at the core. So thinking that I'm bad or wrong or broken is an interpretation that doesn't serve us. And it's not even aligned with truth. So finding a new interpretation of what happened. This just goes back to what we just talked about. Regret. Regret is something that we can let go simply by, from this moment forward, taking more risks to stretch ourselves, to get outside of our comfort zones. And so just simply to be a better risk taker, to live more fully in each and every moment. And sorrow. Sorrow is natural, of course, when something happens in our lives and love changes for some reason. But we can use it as a motivator to live, love, and serve more fully. I don't know how many of you have had that experience, but if we reframe everything and look at it differently, look for the good in it, we support our evolutionary process. We live our lives more fully. We find more happiness. We find more good. So nothing truly in the past ever need hold us back again, ever, ever. So Ernest Holmes says, I'd like to end with this quote: any incident which has transpired in the past is an active thing in the present unless the vibration is neutralized. So how do we neutralize it? Reframe. Reinterpret the past. What else? The second one. Look for the good. Look for the good. So when we are and this will help us be at peace with the past. And when we are at peace with the past, this is what happens, is we live in the now. And we live in the now as the capital S divine self that we are, in our full power, glory, and wonder. We live as if each and every moment counted, because it does. And how awesome is that? And so it is.
Powerful message. I found myself in the past, just going on the way here.